Hello everybody, thank you for viewing this video. I didn't know it was going to record my face, so you're welcome. I'm going to be talking about respite planning. We've had a few hiccups in the last few respites. There are a lot of moving pieces, so we want to get everybody on the same page all at once and make sure that we're all following the same protocol. So let's get to it. You can pause, screenshot, or ask me for copies of certain slides on anything that you need. Just text me or email me or in Teams. All right, so before we start respite, the first thing that's going to happen is somebody in the care team is going to identify that they have a need for respite that is either due to an unsafe environment or caregiver burnout. It is almost always going to be that caregiver burnout. Even if the environment is unsafe, it's usually because the caregiver has burnt out and can't maintain the environment. Once you identify that, your next step is going to be to notify social services. You're going to put that in Teams and you're going to say why they need it and projected for when. So you'll say, I'm at Nadine's house, caregiver burnout, they need respite, and it is for October 20th. And can we plan for that? And if it's urgent, you'll need to put that it's urgent and probably follow up pretty quickly if they need to move fast and find a place for them. After that, social service will start to plan their respite. The facility is going to be contacted. A facility will accept the patient and confirm dates. During that time, intake needs to start their part and send the H&P to that facility and start planning for when the patient is there. The next thing that's going to happen is social services will work on getting transport set up. This can either be medical transport or the family can also bring them. Most important is that this is just communicated. All of this would be best to go in Teams. So we would say, hey, the patient needs respite on October 20th. Social services is going to say, excellent. I know that they need respite and I know when they need it. Intake is going to say, cool. Let me know when you have a place. Social services will say, so-and-so has accepted on October 20th to the 24th with a go home of the 25th. I've set up transport. The family is going to bring them. And intake will say, okay, I've sent the H&P. So this is all going to be tracked and communicated so that everybody can see it. The nurse's job at this point in the respite planning is education along with social work to the family or the patient on how this will all work. It's important to get the pre-testing done, the TB and the COVID. These both have forms that go along with it. The nurse needs to complete the tests at the right time. If you have questions, put it in the group chat so that you can confirm that your TB is being given and read on the right dates. Then you need to scan those documents in and send them into intake and also communicate in Teams that when you've completed the test, when you have the results, and when you've sent them. That was all pre-planning for respite. This is going into the day before and the first day of respite, which is where most of the communication and tasks are going to take place. I'm going to have details of certain tasks and additional parts further in the presentation. This is just like the summary. The day before the patient goes into respite, the nurse needs to reconcile the medications. It is important to reconcile the medications because for respite, we're going to be sending a 5-day supply of all medications. So if the patient is on medications that need to possibly be discontinued, that they're not taking anymore, or if the facility itself does not accept certain medications, sometimes you need to discontinue a medication before respite, start a new one, and do the same thing when they come out. Certain facilities won't allow certain psychotropic medications. It's important for the social worker, intake, and case management to work together on each facility-specific protocol if there's something odd in it like that. If there isn't anything odd, the most important thing is that you have a very clear and concise medication list that is perfect. The frequency needs to be written clearly. Your instructions need to be written clearly. Once you have that reconciled and updated that day before, this probably should be earlier on the day before, maybe even the 2 days before, you will put in the Teams thread and let intake know that that medication record is confirmed. It's good to go. You're also, as the case manager, going to continue educating the patient and the family, and social work needs to as well. Things like bring your binder, bring your pajamas that you like, review the dates that they're going to be going in and the date that they're going to be coming home and how transport will take place. If the facility allows them to bring their medications with them, you can work that out. I have never had that work out, even when they say that they can. I generally defer to just sending a 5-day supply unless you know for sure that that facility allows them to bring home medications to be used. The day before, you're also going to want to place that order for a 5-day supply of medications so that they will be delivered the next morning. Many times you have to switch the order to, say, bubble packs or pre-filled syringes because the facilities won't accept a regular in-the-bottle medication that they might be using at home. So make sure that information is sent over to them. On each one of these areas, you need to be updating the Teams thread and let them know, I've got the meds reconciled, the family's ready, and I've also ordered 5-day supply from One Point to be delivered tomorrow. A really important feature that we always forget in respite that is extremely important is that you need to update the patient's address in One Point to the respite facility at the same time that you're placing those orders on the day before. So you have to log into One Point and change the address directly, and that is to be done right now by the RN case manager. At that same time, intake is going to be updating it in the chart. So those are two places where we have to have those addresses updated when they go in and when they come out. So make sure that you're updating that address, and when you have all those things done, that you're putting it in Teams. All right, now we're moving on to the day of respite. This is a condensed version. I have more information about these tasks later on. Simply, the day of respite, the case manager needs to confirm that the medications have been delivered. I will try to call the facility and get confirmation that they've been delivered. However, I will also look and make sure on One Point, if you go into the dispense history, you can see when and who got the medications, who took the delivery. It has a name on it and a time. I would jot that down just to make sure that when you go and you do your tuck, if they're like, oh, we don't have them, you're already ready and prepared. Say this is who got them and when. Maybe because the patient hadn't arrived yet, they have them in a special safe or set aside. So that's just on you to confirm that they're there. You're going to need to call the facility before the patient arrives and attempt to give report. Some facilities aren't really concerned about getting report. Other ones absolutely want it no matter what. They're freaking out if this patient arrives and they haven't gotten report. You need to just communicate with the team that you've given report, that you confirm the medications are there. And then the most important thing on the day of respite is that you're going to write an order for respite. And I have directions later on in this slide to tell you how to do that very clearly. You might want to take a screenshot. Right now I have maybe 10% of the orders that come through for respite that are written perfectly. So we've got to clean that up a little bit and follow the protocol. I made it really easy. And the other thing that you're going to do is you're going to write another order for the tuck visit, and you're going to plot it for both the RN case manager and the social worker. The RN case manager or triage, if it falls on a weird time or day, needs to see the patient for their tuck visit at the facility on the day that they arrive, after they arrive. So that is going to be making sure that they have everything that they need and that they're all set and we don't have any hiccups during their stay. The most important thing about all of this is communication. When a patient is going on respite, their Teams thread often has a lot more messaging going on because every single person is working at the same time on this in different capacities. And it may seem redundant for you to be telling them what we expect for you to be doing. But at this point, it's just going to give us all reassurance, myself included, when I'm watching these things happen, that I know that so-and-so says, I did the TB test, I sent it in, we're good. Meds have been delivered, meds have been ordered, so-and-so said this, or transport is 15 minutes late. All of those updates in the Teams thread are going to keep everybody on the same page and not leave us wondering if something has been completed. So please use that a lot when we're doing respite cases. We don't want to be missing small tasks. All right, the nurse tuck visit. It's really important that we hit certain goals on this. Most of the time we're really great at it, but I just want to put it down here on the protocol and make sure we're all on the same page. When you do a tuck visit, you want to make sure that it is ordered on the first day of respite and it's going to be completed by that case manager or the triage nurse. You want to report to the nurse that is on duty for that patient. You're going to talk to her about everything, but it's really important that you're talking with her about the med arrival. You need to reconcile our orders with the nurse that is there. Make sure that everything got communicated correctly and it's perfect. And if there needs to be changes, then we're going to make those changes. Our medication orders should match theirs line for line because they should have received it from us. All right, and then you're going to be reviewing a few things with them. You're going to make sure that if this patient is a DNR, that they need to have that DNR already in their system. Now, if intake has that DNR, when they're doing their portion of respite, they're getting that to the facility. If they didn't, or for some reason the DNR was in the patient's binder, or you scanned it and you never sent it, let's make sure that we get a copy of that DNR to the facility effectively, because if something happens with this patient while they're there, they are going to defer to whatever is in the chart. And we need to make sure that we don't have patients being unnecessarily sent out or anything done to them that would be inappropriate. Another additional thing that we have found coming up on respite stays is diet orders. It's one of those facility-specific things that they like to have. It's also really relevant if the patient is on an odd diet. So we can put those diet orders in when we put in the respite order, and that'll be on the directions for that in future slides. You also want to review their ADLs. We don't want a patient going in who is, Alzheimer's and appears physically capable, but we know that they fall, that they wander, that they need more assistance with things. Please communicate that. Communicate about wounds, any weird social issues that may come up that they should be aware of. They need to have that in their report as well. Finally, and last but not least, you need to actually check the patient on their respite stay. Get their vitals, do a check on their primary diagnosis and anything else that seems out of order. If they have something like a Foley, let's make sure it's attached to their leg, that it's attached to the bed appropriately, that the room is safe. So we're reevaluating a new area. We just want to make sure that our documentation shows, even though we're doing it in our head, that we're kind of redoing that initial foundational assessment and putting all of that in there. And if it's not something that you specifically checked in the visit on a checkbox, please make sure you're putting it in your narrative note. Also, you need to put that your tuck visit was completed and that everything was okay in your teams. So here's an example. Tuck visit complete, meds have arrived, orders match, report given to Nancy, RN, DNR is in the chart. I reviewed the patient's status. There's no need for additional orders, supplies, or changes at this time. Now everybody knows that the patient is there and they've got what they need, and our team has confirmed it, and we're all good. The social worker is also supposed to complete a visit within 24 hours of the respite arrival, and that's why we've added it to the plotting for respite. And that is going to be added by the nurse because it is better order-wise for the nurse to put in a verbal order and have that be put in and plotted on that day before or the day of respite. So communicate with the team after the visit, a social work as well. If there's anything odd that they need to know, put that in Teams. On the last day of respite, social services is going to work on arranging and communicating transport home. So they're going to communicate with the team via Teams. They're going to communicate with the facility and the family and make sure that everybody's prepared for that occurrence to take place, that they know when they're going, where they're arriving to, and what time. So the nurse is going to write an order again at the end of respite, and it's going to be to update the level of care and switch it back to routine. I also have directions on that coming up on a couple slides if you want to take a screenshot or have clarity on what that looks like. We are missing that, and we are missing level of cares in general, changing them. So I want to show you the buttons on that. It's right in your order when you do it. Super easy. Now, when the patient is going home, we need to update those addresses back to home. Otherwise, the next time you order medications or a team member tries to go to their home, they're going to go to the wrong place. We don't want this to happen anymore. We can just start putting it into our tasks and get those updated immediately. So intake, once again, is going to update the addresses in home care home base, which is point care for the team. They're going to put that one back to their normal home. And the nurse is responsible for updating that address once again in one point. So that's important that the nurse is recognizing that their task is the medication addresses. So sometimes one point likes to save old addresses, so it'll save that respite one in there. Just go in and kind of clear everything out and make sure that our address is back to the one where the patient will be. Okay. All right, this is a summary of all the steps. If anybody sees something that's missed, feel free to let me know. I would like to make this a very comprehensive checklist of sorts for the entire team. And this just goes through everything that I just said on the pre-respite planning the day before, the first day of respite, and their return home. Each one of these tasks has an owner. And now that we're reviewing this all together, the expectation is that if you are the owner of that task, that you are, one, doing the task, and two, that you're going to communicate that that task and step is now complete via Teams. Okay, so everybody who's involved, whatever task is on here that is your ownership, please do it at the right time and then notify the team that it is completed in Teams. Okay, this is a great one to take a screenshot of, and if we update it, then we'll update it and we'll say take a new screenshot. Okay, everybody who's not writing orders, if you don't have to watch the rest if you don't want to. This is very specific to anybody that's placing orders for respite care. This is the day of respite. This is kind of the first order where everything changes, okay? This is going to be added similar to a new order for anything else. You're going to navigate to the medical record and point care. You're going to go scroll down all the way to the bottom and click functions. That's going to create a drop down of all the buttons there. I'm sure you guys are all super familiar with this, but I would like it all to be here just in case. You're going to click new orders, okay? Then you're going to open up that order and it's going to look kind of like this picture, the first one here in the middle. And you're going to put your verbal order date, which should be the date that you're on, the date for respite before they go. Make sure that your verbal order date and time precedes the date and time of the order or is the exact same time. You can't have an order placed if you haven't got the verbal order. So that's just a little quick reminder on that. Everything else should remain the same. You can click send to facility if it's not. In the instructional box, we need this to read exactly how this states it with the dates following the same pattern. And the way that I do it is I just count. So if they're going in on 6/20, then I'm going to count 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. When I hit 5, those are the dates, 6/20 to 6/24. That is 5 nights. So this is how it should read. Patient requires respite due to caregiver burnout. Next line, start on 6/20 and end on 6/24. However, it's like a hotel stay. 6/24 is your last night. You're not leaving on the 24th. So the next line is going to say, then return home on 6/25/23 or whatever the date is. Does that make sense to everybody? If not, please let me know. If you ever are questioning it, Amber and Intake included John as well. They're really great at putting these dates in the thread for you. Quick pause there, sorry. Intake is really great at putting these dates in the thread. Often that's how I've been correcting them when they come through incorrectly. But I'd like everybody to just start getting this pattern memorized and having screenshots of maybe what it says so that you can follow that pattern and get your orders submitted correctly. Now, the part that we forget most often is where we have these point-in clicks here. I have them labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. After you put in the correct verbiage, you're going to click Edit Level of Care. That's your first click. It's going to open you up to the second screen here. Our second click is going to drop down that menu where it says Level of Care Type, and you're going to drop that down and select Respite Care. After that, your next click is going to be on that calendar. We want that respite care to be effective on the exact same dates as we wrote on the previous screen. So we want that started on 6/20/23. After you have your effective date, you're going to put in your expiration date, and that is 6/24/23. So the effective and expiration date match the start and end date. The going home date is only on where you are writing it on the previous screen, okay? So this is a really good one to also take a screenshot of so that when you're adding your orders, you make sure that the right dates are in the right places. After that, you click save and then you sync your device and that order will go to workflow and it will be all ready and all set for them to begin their respite care. Now, the only thing that I want to add is all that we need on our end is for that verbiage in the instructions to say those dates. However, many facilities like to have additional information. If you know your facility and they requested something else be on there, this is the place to add it. I would say that we're starting to see almost all of the facilities are requesting the diet be added in the instructions. If you do that, just put a space so that it's more organized on the readout and put it on the next line. So you'd put diet, pureed, or up as tolerated, or bedbound, fall precautions, whatever it is that they're requesting or makes sense for that patient as you get to know your facilities and your patients, add it in that area. And that's fine. As long as our verbiage is correct, we can add whatever they need as well. All right. Day 1 of respite, you're going to be adding those visits for those tuck visits. You're going to do it the same way. You're going to go to the medical record. You're going to go to functions. You're going to go to new orders. It's going to bring up your new order form like we have photo here. And it's going to, the verbal order date is going to be for that date, the day of respite. And then in your instructions, you're going to put add RN and social worker visit on 6/20/23 for respite stay. And that is going to be the date of their first day that they arrived, because we're going to be seeing them the first day that they get there and verifying we're all good. You are going to put the instructions as it looks on the screen pretty simply. Then you're going to click on add calendar. You're going to add on that date. You're going to add an RN11 and an MS11. Make sure they have the H for hospice on the date ordered. Save your calendar and then submit the order. And then we're all set for those. Those orders are sent and then they're plotted and they get submitted through workflow. We approve it and scheduling pushes it out to you and you're ready to go. Return home orders. This is one that we need a lot of reminding on, and I think that we can just get it all together here, take ownership, and start getting these in on the checklist and make sure that we're all set. All right, you're going to go to medical record, functions, new orders, same as we did before. In the instructions area, you're going to write return to return care and put the date that they are going home. Okay, so return to routine care 6/25/2023. And then before you submit it, you're going to go down and click that edit level of care button where we have that nice click and number 1 down at the bottom. It's going to open up the screen that we saw previously, and you're going to go into that and make sure that you click in the drop down routine care. And then on the date, you're going to make sure the date matches the date that we've written on here. And you click save on both, submit that order and sync your device, and it will be all set. All right, that's a wrap on that. If anybody has any questions, please let me know, and we are all set. Thank you.